The other one was in Cincinnati, Ohio, at one of the Great American Bashes. And this I think this was one of the best of 7. And they called they asked for me to get color that night, which I wasn't huge on the color scale. They could ask me to get color, but they couldn't dictate like how much. So I figured if a trickle was coming down, that I had sufficiently fulfilled what they had asked me to do. Well, on this particular night, things just kind of, and again, you may or may not remember this, but this particular night, I missed the mark, so to speak. And in fact, still, if someone were to look close, they would actually kind of see the vein that I had cut myself across, and was crimson. In fact, a few of the magazines actually were able to capture this, that I was crimson from head to toe, literally crimson, red from head to toe. And I'll never forget when the match concluded. I'm in the dressing room, and trying to get this thing stopped. I mean, it would
squirting.
Oh, yeah, it just pouring, just gushing, would not stop. And so I finally got it stopped after sitting there for I don't know how long, just putting pressure on this thing, right? So here we go. I'm ready to go take a shower. I go in the shower, and I bend over to pick some bar soap up off the floor, and I no sooner bend over and that pressure just starts shooting like a gusher again. And I'm like, gee, now I'm in the shower, now I'm crimson again in the shower trying to get this stuff stopped, Well, obviously, eventually, of course, we're too macho to go get stitches or anything like that.
Yeah, we tape.
Yeah, the little butterfly tape, just tape it up, and we did that. And of course, you had a field day with it the next few nights that we worked together, because all you had to do was just like tap it then, and it was pretty cool from that standpoint, because the fan would just see it just basically kind of tap it, and they'll go, wow, even the ones who thought, I know these guys cut themselves. He's like, man, his hands never went near his head. And he's, wow. So it gave a real, just that much added sense of believability to our matches. Because one other thing I hear people say, I've had fans tell me over the years, is and those who were diehard and really didn't know it was all entertainment at that time. Right. One of the things I've always heard them say, or many times, is they'd walk out of the arena, and this is just a compliment to you and I as far as I'm concerned, because they said they'd walk out of the arena and they go, I'm not sure if wrestling's real or not, and I don't know about all those other matches, but that match with Magnum Nikita tonight, man, that was real. That match was real. And again, I think it's just a tribute. It goes back to our level of intensity.
And that was the goal.
Worked well together.
That was the goal. People, it evolved into something, everybody wanted to be the showstopper, steal the show, have the best match on the card. That was something, just a level of professionalism that a lot of people in that era wanted to have. But my thing, because of the Eddie Grahams, because of the Bill Watts, because of that solid foundation that we were battling in and what we were depicting, that was my goal. I wanted everyone to think that whatever I was involved in, it was I was in a gunfight, period.
Right.
And that I was always fighting from the bottom up, whatever it took. But that depiction of how tough it was and that grit for them to feel it was what it was so special. And I think I think on it today, and I don't know that the era, progress, you can't ever turn back the hands of time, but that era, because we did have color and did the things that we did to depict the sheer brutality of what was taking place, is lost today in the the very athleticism, the high flying and just outlandish things people do. But it didn't take as much back then to convince someone that your body had gone through something horrendous. You didn't have to fall off a 10-story building. It was something so focal that they could feel it. They were sitting on the edge of their seat. When I hit you, when you hit me, when the sweat flew, the people felt the pulse of that. It was a different thing.
Yeah, that was, and of course that was the art of the business, was to portray that sense of realism to the point that fan, even if they thought they even if they thought they were smart, and when I say smart, that okay, this is not real, it's entertainment or whatnot, that we portrayed such a sense of realism that they, almost to a degree, couldn't deny the fact that it was indeed real.
Exactly.
And I would have to agree with you that in today's day and time, today's era, because the way it has evolved and becoming known as sports entertainment and that sort of thing, that's a kind of a dying art in a sense. That I taking nothing away from these guys' athletic ability, like you said,
no, not at all,
and the things that they're able to do. But for that fan to sit there and to really draw them in, it's one thing to entertain them,
yeah,
but it's another thing. The art for you and I was to draw them in, and that they became. You talked about doing the interview that came into their home, looking into the camera,
right.
And the interview was one thing. But for them to be in an arena or even watch on TV, I've had people that have told me that their grandfather was on the edge of their seat, like in their living room, just because because it just drew them in. Yeah. And for me, I'm convinced. Nobody ever convinced me otherwise. And I've said to fans and people many places that it was an era that you and I had the privilege of being a part of. Yeah. That never again. I just personally don't believe they could even remanufacture that. Even though wrestling, even though life in general is, everything comes back around, whether it's bell-bottom jeans or whatever, everything seems to come back around. Even in wrestling, things come back around, but I just don't believe that they can ever remanufacture that era of what we had in that period of time through the 80s.